Okay, let's just dive right into this. Welcome to this brand new explainer. Today, we're taking a wildly delicious detour from our usual topics and going on an epic culinary adventure. I want you to picture the most vibrant, mouth-watering anime food scene you can possibly imagine. We're talking about treating yourself. And not just, a little treat, but going all out on a rare day off. We're unpacking an incredibly fun source today, a highly enthusiastic local blog and YouTube adventure that literally perfectly captures the joy of unapologetic eating. So buckle up and definitely grab a napkin because things are about to get seriously tasty.
Now, ask yourself this. What happens when you combine a rare, precious day off from work with an absolute mountain of garlic and thick, chewy ramen noodles? I want you to imagine the most indulgent, sensory overload meal possible. The kind of meal you can only eat when you absolutely do not have to worry about smelling like a walking garlic clove at a morning meeting the very next day. You know exactly the kind of meal I'm talking about, right? The one that feels a little bit naughty, but oh so right. Well, in Japan, this specific type of craving actually has a very special, very descriptive name. It's the concept of Haitoku-meshi, literally translating to something close to immoral food or guilty pleasure food. Haitoku-meshi is that highly indulgent, heavily seasoned, incredibly calorie-dense meal that feels wonderfully sinful to eat. It is the ultimate cheat day meal. Our source material today is all about the pursuit of this perfect Haitoku-meshi. Eating a dish like the one we're about to see practically requires a totally cleared schedule the next day. You're committing to the garlic, you're committing to the calories, and you're committing to pure, unadulterated flavor. Section 1. Arriving at Ryomaya, the quest begins. So meet our guide for this explainer, Noguchi Takeshi. He's a local Nagasaki YouTuber, a Google Local Guide Level 10, and a true food adventurer on a serious mission for the ultimate flavor. Takeshi jumps in his car and drives out along National Route 499, heading south towards the Nomozaki area. His target? The Yokohama Iekei Ramen Ryomaya, specifically the Nagasaki branch. He's got tomorrow off, the open road ahead of him, and a very specific garlic-fueled mission in mind. You can almost picture the animated sparkles of anticipation in his eyes as he pulls up to the restaurant. But notice the time here, 1400 hours or 2 p.m. on a Saturday. You'd kind of think the lunch rush would be over, right? Nope. Takeshi notes that even at 2 in the afternoon, the parking lot is completely packed with cars. And he realizes something hilarious. He isn't alone. The lot is just full of other weekend warriors who also have Sunday off and are seeking their own intense garlic fix. It's like this awesome camaraderie of craving. Everyone is there to get their Haitoku-meshi on. Section 2. The orders. Husband versus wife. Okay, so look at this contrast. We've got a classic husband versus wife ordering dynamic here. Takeshi goes completely rogue. He spots the Soupless Jiro on the menu for 980 yen. Now, normally, he admits he isn't a massive fan of the traditional Jiro-style ramen with its intimidating, impossible-to-finish mountains of vegetables, but the word soupless catches his eye, and he decides to take a really bold leap. Meanwhile, his wife plays it much safer, opting for the 990 yen limited seafood tsukemen, which is a dipping noodle dish. It's incredibly delicious with this irresistible seafood broth, but zero garlic. Takeshi even notes that if it were him eating the tsukemen, he'd definitely dump garlic in that too. But his wife gracefully enjoys it as intended. Section 3. Unveiling Soupless Jiro, a sensory masterpiece. All right, let's build the hype because this epic, sinful bowl of Haitoku-meshi has finally arrived at the table. Behold the Soupless Jiro. I want you to picture this with absolute anime protagonist energy. Steam rising from a gorgeous bowl. First, you have the ultra-thick, chewy noodles that have an incredible, satisfying bounce to them. Then, covering those noodles is the rich, luscious back fat, which is totally essential for that true guilty pleasure texture. And finally, sitting perfectly in the center like a golden crown is a gleaming raw egg. Takeshi describes this as a beautiful, appetite-inducing masterpiece. Visually, it's everything a cheat meal should be. Section 4. The mixing ritual. Rules of the guilt.
But wait, you don't just dive right in. Oh no, eating a bowl this intense requires a highly specific, ritualistic approach to maximize every single ounce of flavor. Let's walk through Takeshi's essential 3-step process for fully conquering this ramen masterpiece. Step 1 is the mixing ritual. You have to thoroughly blend that golden raw egg and the rich back fat evenly right into the thick noodles. It creates this creamy, decadent coating. Step 2 is the standard taste test. You must respect the chef and experience the base flavor just as it is. Take a bite, really appreciate the chew, the savory sauce, And then, step 3, the ultimate flavor change. This is where you unleash the true potential by adding massive amounts of garlic and spicy Doubanjiang. So upon taking that initial taste test in step 2, Takashi has an absolute revelation. He literally says, "Terrifyingly, my favorite flavor, exactly what a guilty pleasure should be." You can hear the starry-eyed excitement in his review. The elasticity of those thick noodles combined with the rich sauce hits him instantly. It was a complete bullseye. But remember, he hasn't even reached its final form yet. And here is the climax of our explainer, the flavor explosion. Takeshi reaches for his absolute favorite condiments, grated garlic and doubanjiang, which is a spicy, salty bean paste. He dumps a massive, fiery amount right into the bowl. He notes that adding these completely transforms the dish, elevating this bowl to its final, perfect Haitoku-meshi form. The kick of the spice, the intense, aggressive punch of the garlic, he literally declares, "This is seriously complete. It is peak energy, peak indulgence."
Section 5, the perfect verdict. Why this bowl ruled. So, the bowl is empty, the mission is totally accomplished. Let's compare this to the standard and see exactly why this worked so perfectly for him. Standard Jiro-style ramen is famous, or maybe infamous, for massive, unmanageable mountains of cabbage and bean sprouts and giant scoops of roughly chopped raw garlic. Takeshi says he just doesn't have the stomach capacity for all those veggies anymore. But this Soupless Jiro was different. It had moderate veggies, which meant he could actually enjoy the noodles. Even better, it used grated garlic instead of chopped, which he strongly prefers because it mixes into the sauce so much better. Plus, the back fat wasn't overwhelming and the raw egg tied it all perfectly together. It was a customized guilty pleasure that fit him like an absolute glove. Takeshi ends his adventure completely satisfied, fully recharged with energy and already planning his next trip back for more. And that brilliantly brings us to the end of our explainer today. But I want to turn it over to you. What is your ultimate Haitoku-meshi craving for a lazy weekend? When you have a day off and calories simply do not matter, what is the one incredibly indulgent, garlic-loaded or cheese-covered dish you run to? I hope this explainer left you a little bit hungry and totally inspired to treat yourself. Thank you so much for joining me on this delicious dive, and I'll see you next time.